Hi, welcome to the Israel First television program with myself, Martin Blackham, and with my wife, Nathalie Blackham. Great to have you with us. Thank you so much for joining us today with a program that looks at the news, and we look at the Hebrew roots, we look at the letters and the connections with the end times. So we're going to go straight into the news. Now we're on day 29 according to news media, Nathalie. Day 29, that is, of the Iran war. Israel, Iran, or US, Iran, the Great Iran War, because we've had the kind of Iran war now for many years, but it's intensified in the last 29 days, as you all know from the news media now. Israelis are losing even more sleep, Nathalie, because the clocks have moved forward here in Israel to daylight saving time. There is a lot of people who are not fans of daylight saving time, and a lot of people, and there is reported to be many heart attacks and problems, health problems with the hour change. I didn't know about that, but this is what research shows. So some people are very, very much against it, and even President Trump has said that it shouldn't be changed. But in Israel it has been changed, and now since yesterday 2 a.m. is now 3 a.m. and we are in daylight saving time until October. So the Israeli news media says Israelis already exhausted from weeks of missile fire from Iran and in the north from Lebanon have had their clocks moved forward, and it is been a very contentious issue for many years in Israel, because of Yom Kippur. There was a suggestion that it should be in the area of Yom Kippur, so Yom Kippur wouldn't be as long. It would have an hour taken off both ends, apparently. However, I'm not sure how that works, but because 1 hour is
you have to say that Yom Kippur is a fasting day, which is 25 hours. So it means that it won't be 25. Oh. It will be 24, which might be a bit like 23. I don't know exactly, but yeah, something like that.
It would have an hour shaved off both ends, according to politicians, but we're in the stage where that hasn't happened, and it's now outside of Yom Kippur and the day of fasting and until October. Meanwhile, the Jerusalem Post has reported that people are having sleep disturbances during the war. We mentioned this in a previous program. It's caused a national sleep crisis, and I've talked a bit in the past about the increase in the purchase of sleeping pills and sleep medication.
And so now the joke is we are coming close to Passover, which is Pesach, which is, how do we say it Passover in English. And so is where the Jewish people the Hebrews were redeemed from Egypt, and it was let my people go. And now the joke is like, let my people sleep. Yeah. This is the big thing that people are saying.
It's changed the routine and the quietness of the night. Normally the night should be dark and quiet, and now it's full of alarms. Entire families, as I've said before on the program, having to run to bomb shelters with the physical injuries that have been associated with that. And one of the interesting things is, in the middle of everything, the cost of living has gone up. Prices are going up all the time. Many retailers are blaming it on the war, on fuel charges, on increase this, increase that. Meanwhile, the people's income is not increasing in Israel. Even before the current campaign, the Bank of Israel said in February that geopolitical uncertainty had resurfaced amidst the confrontation with Iran. Israelis moved from missile alert to missile alert. A study from the Shoresh Institution suggests that the country's social gaps look starker when measured not only by income, but what households can actually afford, especially in food. And as you're aware, and this is happening where you are, products are getting smaller, but the prices are staying the same. The Gini coefficient for disposable income, a common measure of inequality, fell from 36% in 2003 to 33% in 2023, whilst inequality in total consumption declined from 28% to 26%. The other issue is that people have been put on furlough because of the war, and or had to stop their work, or had to look after children because
Many
schools,
yeah.
and maybe I can talk
the majority of the schools.
Yeah, maybe I'll talk a bit about that in the program later, but the schools have closed, and so the kids are at home, and parents are having to take time off who would normally be at work and drop their kids off at school, have to take time off work to look after the children. And so, this is a very serious issue in Israel. Meanwhile, in England, we don't normally talk about England, but there's been a rise in anti-Semitism, leading to a terror attack in Golders Green, a Jewish community, the big Jewish community north of London. Had 4 United Hatzalah ambulances were attacked. There were explosions as well. Masked attackers caused explosions and the destruction of 4 ambulances, 4 or 5, outside a synagogue, the big synagogue in Golders Green. A local official said the terror attack on the ambulances belonging to a Jewish organisation was utterly shocking and terrifying and very upsetting for the Jewish community in London.
4 ambulances out of 5?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but the thing is, some people are saying, why it was only for the Jewish people, but it was not. It's like they were using it for the people around the region of Golders Green.
Yeah.
So is the Jewish community who knew that there wasn't enough ambulances, so they had 4 of the ambulances, but it's for whoever needs an ambulance.
Right. It's a service which is voluntary, that many people give up their time just as they do in Israel. United Hatzalah is an Israeli organisation. They provide it in the Golders Green area for 365 days a year, 7 days a week and 24 hours a day, to medical emergencies in a 2.5 mile radius of the Golders Green area, according to the website, free of charge. They don't charge anything for the service, and they have 61 fully qualified medics and paramedic volunteers who've undergone intensive training to be able to do life-saving. They are equipped with comprehensive basic life support kits, including resuscitation equipment, oxygen and defibrillators, and are ready to drop everything to respond to a medical emergency. Hatzalah's Northwest, which is the organisation in Golders Green, has a fleet of 5. So that's how serious it was. It means that basically it closed down the fleet. CCTV footage showed the 3 hooded terrorists pouring gasoline, petrol onto the vehicles and setting them on fire outside the synagogue. And I do believe that there was some indication that the actual target was going to be the synagogue itself, but I'm not sure how accurate that story is. But some people said that they found the ambulances there, but they were actually going to target the synagogues, and have targeted synagogues on the mainland of Europe, in European countries. Now, one of the issues that we talk about regularly on the program is whether you can come to Israel or not. I know a lot of you are watching are keen to come here, have booked holidays. Well, the latest news is Archaea has called Israel's new flight limits an effective airspace closure. Why is that? Well, following Israel's cap of 50 passengers a flight, which does mean you have a lot of room, by the way. I suppose you could have 3 seats for yourself, or 3 seats for all your family. But the downside of that is that it makes it it's not financially possible to run an airline with 50 passengers per flight because it's paying for all the salaries plus the fuel costs and the whole operation, and it's not logistically possible. But that's the limit, Nathalie, at the moment, 50 passengers since last Sunday. And most airlines, or some airlines, have shifted to Aqaba or Taba, while maintaining humanitarian routes.
Which is north of Egypt.
Right. Whilst maintaining humanitarian routes from Ben Gurion. This is after the 50 limit was put in place by the Transportation Minister, Miri Regev, and she's also not just put a limit of 50 passengers, but there's also a scaling back of the amount of planes that can take off and land. Reports say the decision limits the to one incoming flight and one outgoing flight per hour. The incoming flight has no passenger number restriction, while the outgoing, as I said, has a restriction of 50. Arkia Airlines has criticised the new plan, calling it effectively a closure of Israeli airspace. And we do hope that the situation changes, but that's the situation at the moment. And we will keep you updated on the programme.
Yeah. And I saw another airline, I think it was Delta, which they said that they stopped till September.
Yeah, so we will keep you updated as to what's happening. We were talking with a tour guide just yesterday, and he's very optimistic that the summer will be okay. So, but we'll let you know. We'll keep you in the picture, particularly those of you who are looking forward to coming here in the summer months to visit Israel. Now, studying under fire, how is it for students and for children who are having to navigate exams, sirens, daily life during the war? Now, they're juggling Zoom classes, we've mentioned this before, but the many of the children, or perhaps even, Nathalie, the majority of the children are doing classes by Zoom. Now, Jill Lewinsky says, after completing a packed semester, and it's not just affecting the students, it's affecting those at university, those at high school. After completing a packed semester studying law at Bar Ilan University, I knew March was almost here. I was going to be a full month of celebrations because there's Purim and we've got Passover coming up, family gatherings and the Shushan Purim party in Jerusalem. And then on the Shabbat, when the Iran war, she was in the synagogue reading Parashat Zakor, the portion in Deuteronomy that outlines the commandment to remember what Amalek did to the Israelites, just as Ayatollah Ali Khamenei found his end. Within 2 hours, the day was turned upside down as alerts overloaded by phones, messaging system, and half a dozen sirens forced us into the shelter, she says.
You have to explain a bit. Like when they were reading the Parsha, which is the portion, the weekly portion that they read, was called Zakor. And this was the time when, I think it's in the Exodus, and they were speaking about don't forget to fight against Amalek every generation. And we know Amalek, it was really the enemy of Israel. And so it's when the war started in Iran. And it was during Purim, just before Purim. So again, it's like an old story because Haman was also an Amalekite. So there is you can do some research and you will see that it's quite amazing that all this happened exactly at the time.
She says, today as I write this reflection, it is uncertain when the next warning, alert or siren will sound, which is another issue. You know, people trying to live daily life, trying to do the shopping, don't know if they need to run to or fine. No, the other issue is, and we should point this out, this might not be very obvious, is that they don't know where the bomb shelters are, where the safe places, the mamad, the public bomb shelters are, is not always obvious. Sometimes you see a sign to tell you where to go, but very often, particularly if you're in a shopping centre, for example, or a big area, it's not clear where to go. and so people
and it can be like a maze.
And
too.
people can run in all different directions, so that doesn't really help either. So this is really something, and a lot of injuries occur because people are panicked by this stage, with the noise of the siren in their ears, not knowing where to go, that accidents can happen. She says, my small apartment lacks a proper reinforced room, the mamad or the safe room, compelling my wife and myself to take cover in a public bomb shelter a block away. That's another issue. They're not always very close. Statistics show that 60% of Israelis lack a safe room in their apartment, forcing them to rely on other sheltering methods, such as using a building's stairwell, a shelter in the basement, or a public shelter outside their residential building. What was supposed to be a beautiful month and a beautiful break from my university studies has turned into a survival frenzy. Instead of the usual party scene in Jerusalem, Purim became a private affair. That's another issue.
Restriction.
There have been restrictions on amounts of people who are allowed to gather together. Many stores, many restaurants are not open at the moment. Many people are finding themselves even having to go to synagogue in an underground shelter. Family occasions, which are meant to be joyous, are happening with booms in the background inside reinforced rooms as people wait inside. And the stress people are trying here to live a normal life, and it's normal to live a normal.
Very hard.
It's normal to live a normal life. It's not normal to not live a normal life, and they're doing their best. And you might say, well, Israel has never been normal, really, not Martin, and that's true. But this is kind of like extreme abnormal, and so it is putting a lot of stress on the people, and routines are being disrupted. Phones are being taken over. You end up with your phone having a huge amount of messages on it, and which is all of the things are putting pressure on you, as well as the pressures of normal life, of going to work, of family, of responsibilities. You have this other huge pressure and stress.
And for the children loves routine. So when the routine is not there, it's all the life, all the they need to have like a fence around them to feel secure, and this fence just blown away. So it's very.
And it does feel like a bit of control as well. I mean, the reporter said that it feels like an Orwellian home front command app that tells you what to do, and that's another thing. People are concerned that losing control, that it's other people are making the decisions, and so this is also very concerning. Well, Nathalie, you are bringing us
a bit of hope in the midst of all of that.
And the Hebrew language.
Yes, I have some very interesting things to tell you today. We are on the 8th letter on the Aleph Bet. We are looking at the Hebrew alphabet, and I think it's like so exciting because every letter really carry a potential and a power. So this letter is called Chet, which is used in Chaim, life, and is number 8, and it's very interesting because when you look at the numbers, the number 8 is like, how it is, but if you put it this way, it's like infinity, the sign for infinity, because it's like new beginning, okay? And it's also like a fence. Funny enough, I was just speaking about that for the children, so it's like security. But also what it means, and I was like doing a bit more studies today, refreshing my mind about it. And, when you study again, it's like new level goes into you, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is very important. As we speak, a new beginning is like God bringing us above natural, okay? Like when you look at the calendar, the Hebrew calendar right now, we are in the 80s, it's 578, and like 86 right now, but like the 80s is again Shemini, which is like number 8 again, and is a difficult decade, But at the same time, God is trying to bring us above natural. And right now, even here in Israel, you can't live in a natural way. You need to go in a supernatural way if you want to carry on living, because of all the pressure and everything. And I'm kind of amazed to see how, I know there is difficulty and all of that, but still you see the people smiling, speaking together, on the street. And I'm quite amazed, because if it was in Europe, I don't think the people will react as well as here, even with the pressure, okay? And God never said that, like, new beginning is always difficult, because the old way is gone. Now, what I discovered also, you remember the 7th of October? We need, I'm trying to give you some insight of what's happening, because sometimes we're like, what's happening? We know about the war, but what is it all about? And I was looking also at the 7th of October 2023. So it was again in the year, the 80s in the Jewish calendar, and a terrible day. But again, God is trying to bring us above the natural. He's trying to tell us, you have to transcend what's happening. And when we hear the story, the testimony of many of the hostages, in the midst of everything, a lot of them find God. And one was like an amazing, we spoke about it, like how he discovered a relationship that he could have with God that he did not have before, and that it was very hard to keep so precious things during normal day when he was released, because there is so many things happening that you have to really carve inside of your life this time to be with God. So he was speaking about that. And so Shemini Eteret was the last day of Sukkot, is the 8th day. And if you look in the Bible, I can't remember exactly where they speak about it. It might be in Leviticus. And they are speaking about, this is a day, Sukkot was like everybody was coming in Jerusalem to the temple, big festival and all. And then this 8th day, God said, you stop and you are just with me, which is again what he loves. So the 7th of October was exactly that. And what we need to know also, very, very interesting, on that day, they read the dedication of the temple. There is King Solomon who is saying, now this place, funny enough, is for Israel, but is also for all the nations. And whoever comes here and pray on that place, please hear the prayers. So it's like something very amazing, and for Israel, but also for all the nations. And if you remember also that the Muslim and Hamas was speaking about the Alaska flood, is how they call it for this war, what they were doing, because and the soldiers, when they went to Gaza, finding all the houses, they could see the Alaska Mosque, which is just behind us on the Temple Mount. And so suddenly the Jewish people, the army, the Israeli army, the soldiers, was saying like, oh my gosh. And it's them who discovered that, saying, this place is so important for the Muslim, but this is where the dedication of the temple was. This is like what God say, I'm coming. And you had the glory of God who came at that time. Okay? And again, I'm reading right now, I'm in Ezekiel, which is exactly about that, about the new temple will exist. And God say, this is my throne. This is God, the creator of the universe, who said, this is my throne. This is where my feet are. And I'm like, wow, this is a very big thing. So we need to think about all these things. And I wanted to tell you something also to give you a bit of, like, to look in the world and in the history, which is his story. I love that, because it's God's story with humanity, because it's very interesting. Again, when he speaks to Ezekiel, he says, son of man, speak to the bones. It's not God who is speaking to the bones. He says, son of God, you have to speak to the bones for something to happen. And so he needs us. He wants us totally involved in this life to see his kingdom come on this earth. And is so very important. And it's coming, but it takes longer than what we are thinking sometimes. And you know, when he said, "I'm coming soon," what soon means, we don't know exactly. But if you look in the story, in the history, when you look at the first World War, the First World War is when the Turkish Ottoman Empire fell, because they allied themselves with Germany. Germany was defeated. So the Turkish Ottoman, who was like for 600 years, just was dismantled. And then, so this is the First World War. And the Second World War, it was when it was a terrible thing with the Holocaust, but there was Israel was reborn. And I love to say that because it was dead and it was reborn. And now there is Jewish people coming back more and more and more and more.
And there were a lot of, for the First World War, a lot of Australian soldiers were killed in Israel.
You're right.
Fighting against the Turkish. Yeah. And we, the other day, Natalie, we were at close by the cemetery where the soldiers were buried. Well, we've run out of time, so it's been great to be with you. Thank you so much for joining us today. And don't forget to visit the website, www.israelfirst.org. There's a lot of information there. You can also subscribe to the weekly newsletter. You can also subscribe to a daily news story on the Israel media page. There's also the program, the weekly program is available to watch on the site, and you can help us financially, because Nathalie, it's because of our good friends and supporters that we're able to bring the program, and we do value you and thank you for all the work that you do behind the scenes for us and praying as well. So great again to be with you, and we say shalom, shalom. And don't forget, we're the program that looks at the land, the people, and the language.